Every patch of grass has the potential to become a skyscraper. All it needs is to be put under construction. Welcome back to yet another episode of Under Construction SA. I am your host, Thuso Motsomane, and thank you for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please click on the subscription button and please go up there and click on the notification button so that every time you are here, every time we drop an episode, you are notified. Today we have a very, very special guest. We have Noluthando, the church girl, who's also part of the Podcast&Chill network. Noluthando, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Noluthando, would you just please start with telling us where you're from, a bit of your background, and maybe how you got into the industry?
Oh, so originally I'm from Cape Town, born and bred, and proud to be a Cape Townian. Relocated to Pretoria in 2009 with my parents when my dad got a job this side, and then I continued my varsity here. I went to TUT, that is Tshwane University of Technology, and then I started working for the NPA for a number of years, National Prosecuting Authority. So I had been there for about 6 to 7 years, if I remember correctly. End of 2016, right? Yeah, end of 2017. End of 2017, I told my former boss that I'm resigning and I'm pursuing my career in communications. And she was like, it's actually a great fit for you, you know. Of course, we don't want to lose you here, but we see the spark in you as well in going that line. So then I enrolled at Varsity College for a BA in corporate comms, and I had the best time of my life. And then one day I was just browsing on my Instagram, and then I came across an interview that Vika Shipalano was having with a lady. I can't remember the lady's name. So I tuned in. I'm not one to watch Instagram lives to start off with. I'm not one to sit on social media actually for so long. But that day, the conversation was about being intentional. And I had thought of, of that dipping my foot into the industry, but I didn't know how, I didn't know where, I didn't know what would happen. You know, who do I ask first? Do you need to ask somebody? And that conversation was saying, just be intentional about where you want to be intentional about what you want to do, to start making the small steps. I thought, okay, I had already taken the step to go back to school to do corporate comms, and I'm excited and I'm ready for this. What now? Then I started doing Instagram lives, I started doing Instagram lives using what I had, having conversations, and I saw that people were really liking the conversations I would be having. And then one day my husband says, hey, dude, did you hear Podcast&Chill is looking for a lady to join the ladies network? I'm like, Podcast&Chill, those people are so vulgar. I don't even listen to them. And I would see him watching. I promise you, I would see him watching, and the minute he switches on the Podcast&Chill guys, I would literally just go to the room, do my own thing, watch a series or something. And all I could hear, I could not hear what the guys were saying. All I could hear was just swearing. And I was like, no ways. But I took this as a sign, as because I was having the conversation with my husband to say, I need to get into the industry. How do I do it? And one of the first things I thought would be to audition, audition for anything that comes up. This is where my practice ground is. So audition. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I did that for Podcast&Chill. And boom, like one Friday, I get a call and this lady says, you did an audition for Podcast&Chill and you were selected in the top what? We need to do a recording with you. I said, what? Are you for real? And I started shaking because that's generally how I feel when I hear somebody giving me a compliment or good news about what I've just done. I immediately become shy and anxious. So I'm already thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? Who's going to be there? And my worst nightmare came to life. I really got on set and they were talking about one night stands. I said, good Lord, I cannot relate. It was the biggest thing for me. I said, they're talking about one night stands. What am I supposed to talk about? I sent, and it was just at the time where the prince who married Meghan Markle, where they were just really having issues at the palace in the UK, and I thought, okay, it's gonna go in that direction. But then this chick that was on set before me, they spoke about it. I'm like, no, this cannot be happening. And then my time came. Oh, so I texted my husband in the middle, and I'm like, dude, they're talking about one night stands, and I don't know what to say. And he was like to me, listen here, you're there to make TV, just make it happen. And fortunately for me, the conversation then changed to, I think, friendship breakups or something about friendships. And I was like, sure, now I can relate a bit, you know. So yeah, that's literally how I got in. I auditioned, they liked me, and yeah, the selection process went through.
You as you're talking about one night stands, I can imagine because you are a Christian, right? From what I'm getting, and how then? Because I know Christian circles, how then do people now who know you for who you are see you on such a platform, like you say, it's vulgar, it's raw, like it goes against most of the values that Christianity is based on, right? So how do then people react? Maybe family, maybe friends, or people who really know you, people at church react to the fact that you're on Podcast&Chill.
So I think the blessing in disguise for me in all of this was that one, I've never had anybody approach me, so I don't know how they are feeling. And those that do know me, strangely, they don't ask me, what am I doing there? They always say, what does your husband say about this? And I say, guys, my husband is my biggest cheerleader. He was the one who said I should join the network. And that sort of like shuts the conversation almost immediately. But here's the thing. Also, I think the people that we are now talking to are open-minded. Reason I'm saying this is because the society is not just made up of Christians and non-Christians or people who practice certain things and those who don't. There's a variety of things, which is the reality of the world we live in. Whether I believe in it or not, whether I'm for it or against it, the reality is there are people like me, there are people like you, there are people like the guys on the network, and many other people with different lifestyles. And what we are trying to do as a network is to not even it's to make everybody's voices heard, because reality is church girl. There is a church girl in the world, and how does the church girl then relate to the world? And me being a church girl does not mean that I'm pure. It does not make me a saint. It does not make me better than. It's just that my lifestyle choices have been different to the norm, I would say, you know? So if people were sleeping around, I chose not to sleep around, you know? There are some who also relate as church girls who are Christians, but who sleep around. And that's what they found works for them. But for me, it is a matter of a personal journey in the sense that in my Christian life, I'm called to be the salt of the earth, the light to the world. So I don't see myself as being in a bad place or in a, evil. I don't know what people call it, But I see myself as being a light to somebody that is very much like me, or also wants to make the decisions that I maybe made, and to say, it's okay, girl, it's okay to be different. It's okay, guy, to be different. The world needs you as you are. There is one MacG, and that's enough. So come up with you. You are your church girl, be you.
Oh, this is an amazing story. Before I continue, can I ask, because I'm having background noise, can you guys hear the background noise?
No.
Oh, okay, then we're fine if you guys can hear it. When you speak about, today you opened my eyes, because I never saw it that way, that, there has to be a form of representation, because sometimes as a Christian, or people who are Christians, we never think people want you on TV or want you in the spaces, especially for podcast and chill, right? So when you said, there are people who can relate to you, for us, or for me who's watching, I never thought of that. I would think, maybe this person is out of place, man, because like you said, these people speak about one night stand, like she's not a one night stand person, she chose the other path and stuff like that. Is she supposed to be there? But now, when you explain the story of representation, that there are people, I think sometimes we forget the minority, or the people that there are different kinds of people, right, at the end of the day, and they all need to be represented. And today, I think my eyes are open, and probably for those who are watching as well, we will learn something to say, you know what, there is need of representation, because sometimes you can say, yo, I'm catering to the youth. What about the old people? Because there are some old people who watch what you call who are on YouTube, right? So you sort of, for me personally, sort of opened my eyes. But I want to ask you, since we're still on the podcast and chill uh, situation, you guys were trending at some point, right? I think your first trend was with Tape, and she even ended up deleting a Twitter, if I remember well. So what goes through your mind when you guys are trending on Twitter? Because Twitter is brutal. Sometimes I'm like, yo, I feel I feel for celebrities, because the things we say, because I'm part of, I'm not saying I say it, but I'm part of the Twitter community, I'm part of the fans, the things that sometimes we say, the things sometimes that we do, right? So I'm wondering what goes through your mind when the first trend, the first time you guys are trending, and it's taping, people are just judging her, people are just throwing shots at you guys. What goes through your mind?
So immediately, I think my first thought was, oh my gosh, guys, with Tape. Because the Tepi I met and the Tepi the people are talking about are two different Tepis. But hey, also I was with Tepi for probably like an hour and a half to two at the most, so I don't really know her that well. But I said, what is unfair about the entire situation is that they're dragging her family into it. I said, if they want to go for Tepi about on what Tepi said, by all means, go for it. But don't drag her family, don't drag her relationship, don't drag her personal life. So in my heart immediately went to Tepi, and I reached out to her, and we've been, having conversations, because I think we clicked even on set. And so we've been chatting the entire time. And I say to myself, had I started in the industry earlier than what I did now, I probably would not even have had the maturity that Tepi had to say, okay, if I don't delete this app, I'm going to say something that's going to ruin me and everybody else. So let me just, I applauded her for doing that, because that shows restraint. It shows she knows her limits. It shows she knows what she can take and what she can't. And that is something I learned from her. And the brutality of the comments, I never even answered a single one, like a single one. And my thing in life is that not every action requires a reaction. There are times where I felt, okay, we've been too quiet for too long. And it's not that you need to get a go ahead to speak, but I think it's also like more of a timing thing, because had we spoken at the time when the attack on Tshepi was so rife, I think it would have been blown out of proportion, and people would have had regrets and said mean things that are really not necessary. But on the episode that we did talk about it, and I said I've been wanting to talk about it, and it had not been a right time. It was, guys, don't hate the player, hate the game. If you wanted to correct Utepi, do so by all means. Was she mean on the tweets that I had seen from the previous years? Of course she was. But people change, people learn new things, and wherever she is, the fact that she agreed to have a conversation with us, it means that she's not the same person she was at the time that she tweeted. She's not the same person that she was yesterday, just like you and I are not the same people we were last week, So, yeah, Twitter is just harsh. Twitter is mean. Twitter is terrible. So you just need to have emotional intelligence into saying, I know this is going to affect me. Let me switch off, or I can answer this and handle the heat.
Yeah, man. The thing about I think in South Africa we have this thing that we want everyone to be down. If I'm down, I want you to go down with me. I don't want to go down alone. When people have worked so hard, it's like we have joy in destroying their hard work. And I like the point that you spoke to again, that there's the person that I was. It's crazy because I still have Facebook, right? So on Facebook, when it shows me my memories, because I'm a different person from what I was in 2010, I find myself deleting a lot of stuff because I'd use vulgar words, which now I don't anymore, So, like you say, with Tshepi, she grew up. When you are young, I think we saw it with Devin Gogo did the same thing, She was dragging our cast, but she was a fan of AKA, understandably so, right? So she was not a celebrity. She's allowed to commentate on whatever's happening, versus now when she's in the entertainment industry. She probably doesn't share the same sentiments because she's closer to Casper, and it's no longer shouted about. It's no longer about being a fan. It's about, this is the person in the industry, this is my pin, stuff like that. And I think people missed it. And I think there was a lady, a white lady. I do not encourage racism, but as well, she lost Miss SA because of tweets when she was young, when she was like a teenager, And I don't know any teenager that's responsible, right? Even me, when I look back as a teenager, the things that I used to say or do, I'm like, what were you thinking, Thuso, right? But I guess, like you said, Twitter is harsh. People are harsh. I think because of the high unemployment rate, people are spending too much time on their devices and they want to see all of us down like that. So that's what I've been picking up about South Africans. But I want to ask you, what do you love most about being on the Ladies Podcast?
I like the diversity of the three ladies, hey? I like hearing the different views and the different perspectives on, you get to learn somebody by spending more time with them and by having meaningful conversations. So I think that is what I enjoy the most, the meaningful conversation, no matter how foolish sometimes we may sound and seem. But at the end of the day, I think I always walk out on set having learned something. I mean, growing up in a very strict Christian home, my view has always been one-sided and against the other and for the other. But I've learned in life that it's really not just the straight and narrow. There are turns, there are twists, there are there are corners, and so in getting to understand how other people grew up, what their life experiences are, and seeing them through their eyes has also made me a better person in terms of not judging people, not just seeing them for their looks or their positions in life, but just getting to know them for who they are.
Oh, that's amazing. The diversity and stuff like that. And I think I just relate with people, For me, I think one of the biggest things or mandates in life is people are valuable. Since you're a Christian, I like what Dr. Miles Monroe would say. He says Jesus never invested in businesses, he invested in people. So I believe more than anything, if you own and love people, regardless of race, gender, whatever they believe in, nationality, when you love people, people are changed by people who love them. When you correct, when you speak, they understand you speak from a point of love. And I think sometimes, because I'm also a Christian, sometimes as Christians, we're quick to point out the wrong, and I like what African people would say, that you don't have a right to correct someone that you've not loved first. When I know Notuthando loves me, even when she comes at me, I know from what place it comes from. But if you just start off by pointing me the wrongs that I'm doing, it's like, I like what someone said. It says, when you point at someone's wrong, it's like being in front of a mirror. The mirror shows you what's wrong about you, but it doesn't help you in any way. Because a lot of people who are doing wrong, who are doing wrong, already know. They already know. It's not for me to point out, but this is wrong. They already know. For me, it's about how do we move from there to because I'm solutionary for you to become a better person. And I think we could do better if we as human beings, if we attack life with love and understanding different personalities, how people live, and just loving people irregardless. And I think for me as a Christian, that's what will draw people to God more than anything. We were speaking about controversy actually, just before I ask you this question. I want to know, what is the most controversial opinion that you've ever had, and you still hold that opinion today?
Sure, controversial opinion. I think I work for a controversial network, isn't that enough? And I'm saying this because I don't know how much you know of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but we are like this, okay? We are like this. There's no in between with us. So I think the most controversial is really me being on the network. It stands against everything, and I mean everything. So for those of you who don't understand the Adventists, and those who do know, please comment down below on what kind of people we are. Like, this is the most controversial.
Oh, and it's true, because I got Podcast&Chill, there's always something. And for me, I think it's with the main podcast, right? I think sometimes it's so unfortunate that people are afraid to come there, and sometimes they make it seem as if it's the podcast that's outing people or out there to destroy people. Case in point, Natasha. I'm sorry, Natasha comes to the podcast. After she comes, she herself tells a story of Mambalagambet. But who takes the blame? Podcast&Chill. It really doesn't make sense to me that how are we blaming MacG? Because MacG asked a question and she spoke, and she thought, oh, I'm telling an inspiring story. And then it happened to be controversial. Yeah, people tend to relax when they're on the podcast and say stuff, and then we blame the podcast. Man, but we really enjoyed it. And I like the fact that you said it goes against everything. But at the end of the day, I like what you said. You are the salt of the earth. If the salt if the salt is not in the earth, if there's no light, darkness will prevail, right? So I think you are in the right place. I want to know, what do you think distinguishes you from everyone, from your peers, from everyone that's doing what you're doing, whether it's radio, podcasting, or as an entertainer?
Sure. What distinguishes me is one, it's my work ethic, and I say my work ethic being authentically me. When I started in the industry, immediately I thought I needed to be like somebody and sound like somebody in order for me to be seen and look a certain way. But I've seen how me being authentically me connects with people. You see, when I started doing the Instagram lives, I would just think up a conversation and say, okay, let me talk about this. But the minute I start talking about something that's relatable or something I had just experienced, people would connect more with that. And with the media industry so diluted in wanting to look a certain way, in wanting to sound a certain way, what distinguishes me is that I'm going to remain true to myself. This is the Nolu you're going to find. This is the voice you're going to hear. This is the Nolu you're going to see, be it on the street, be it on the red carpet, be it on stage. This is me. And there will never be another me. So I'm really I'm not advocating that we shouldn't, adapt to change and certain scenes that we might need to play. But, most of the time as people, we want to align with brands, but forgetting your own brand. Let me make more sense of it. When you look for brand association and brand partnerships, we tend to forget about what you stand for and what your values and your principles are. Meanwhile, that certain organization never changes its brand, never changes its values and mission for you, but you need to adapt. So I've taken the stance of, I'm not going to adapt who I am. I'm not going to change who I am, rather, but I'm going to be specific in aligning with brands that speak to the values and principles that I hold, so that I don't have to change anything, but I remain authentically me.
Wow. I like it, authenticity, and adjusting the brand to who you are, and not trying to change for the brand. That's
no, because I think we are so consumed with brand association that you forget that you yourself are a brand. So what is your brand? So when somebody asks you, tell us about yourself and what you're about, basically people want to know, what is your brand? And does then my brand fit in with yours? Do I want to be in business with you? But most of the time we shy away from saying who we are and what we stand for, because our minds are focused on the money than making an impact, than being true. That is why you find that there's so many people under stress in the industry. There's so many people using drugs, so many people doing all sorts of things to find coping mechanisms, because they've been somebody that they are not. And now they're falling under pressure to keep up, and they can't. And now they just want to be themselves. And you can't be yourself, because that is not the brand that you sold.
Oh, nah, I love it. I have nothing to add, but I think the point is clear to everyone to hear. But I want to know, is there anything in the past 10 years that you believed in that you have changed your mind about, that you would love to share with us?
I've changed my mind about. So let me think. I'm sure there is, but now having to think of one specific one. Look, I've changed the way I read the Bible, definitely. I've changed the way that I apply scripture in my day-to-day life. I've changed the way that I relate to people now. As I said, I'm from a very strict Christian home, Christian background, and religious belief, and which was it's right or it's wrong. There was no in between, Yeah. And I think I've learned to find the in between, because now I've learned to, when I'm talking to you, I want to find out what's your story, not just, oh, you drink, oh, you smoke, and immediately I judge her like, oh, no, he's not going to be a part of my circle. But I want to find out, what is your story? If you have everybody actually has a story, but there's a reason why you make the decisions you make. There's a reason why you make the choices you make. And so instead of me being so cut dry about it, I'm now more kinder, I think, because I was strict. I was the strictest of my friends. I always say of my friends growing up, I was the last one to actually find out that people were actually having boyfriends and sleeping with them because it goes against everything that we believe in. And I was the one left being a virgin. And I was so naive thinking that my one friend, when she told me that her boyfriend, they were at some hotel at the waterfront, they showered together, but they didn't do anything. I believed her, you know? And every time I told the story, people were like raising an eyebrow and saying, girl, no, that doesn't make sense. But but now I learned that, you take certain things with a pinch of salt and you just be a little kinder to the people. Yeah, I think I've just become a little kinder than I was.
Yeah, man, I guess I'm getting it. And I think for some of us, the more you grow, the more compassionate you become. And because we grow up, it's part of growing. You realize certain things. When you're a kid, most of the time we are naive and we're still learning. And it's forgivable. It's understandable that when you're a kid, what do you know, right? When you're a teenager, like you're still figuring out life yourself, right? So
Yeah.
I think I can relate with you on so many levels in terms of, but for me it will be, you say kind of, for me it's like I'm more compassionate, I'm more compassionate and I'm more, and like I guess you even said it without saying it, understanding, trying to figure out where the person comes from and not just bashing or judging someone. So yeah, there's anything that you would change, that what would it be right now that would change? Maybe about the past, about something that you've done. What would it be?
Got a lot of things I would change, but I think one of them would be the financial decisions that I've made. In saying that, like I started working at a very young age, and I've just been reckless in my spending, Yeah, so the finance, like I would take out a loan. Not that what I was earning was not enough. I mean, think about this in 2006, no? 2006, somewhere there, I think, if not earlier than that. When I started working and people were earning 4,000 rand, I was earning 8,000 rand. Like, and I'm saying this because I know my friends also worked, at call centers and whatnot, and that's how much they were making. I was making 8,000 rand, but I just always blew my money. I blew my money, honestly. And I think that's a weakness I still have to an extent. And now when I look back, I'm like, sure, Nolu, you could have been so far. But hey, you know what? Now that I know I do better, I try to stay, on the right path. Have the minute I have a plan and I see where the money's going, that works for me much better than when I don't have a plan. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna give my parents, 1,000 rand, and I'm left with 7,000. That's probably gonna be like 500 rand transport, and the rest is mine. I can blow it. But now that I know better, I do better. So I think that's the one thing. It would be my financial education and how I dealt with money. That's the one thing I would change.
Man, I think most of us, maybe because we don't come from well-off families, when you get the money, you want to compensate most of the time.
Look, I don't even want to use that as an excuse because fortunately for me, I was not one of those. And I say this because growing up, I grew up in my grandparents' house, living with my mom and not even my grandparents, my mom's grandparents, so it was my great-grandparents. And I was the spoiled brat. I had absolutely everything I wanted from literally primary school because we had, I think, about 4 or 5 supermarkets around Eguguletu, and even like one in the Eastern Cape in the village back home. So we were known. And when I say supermarket, I really mean like a supermarket that had absolutely everything. Yeah, like your mini Pick and Pays, your OK mini
Yeah.
marts. It was really something like that we had at home. So for me, that's not even the storyline. It was literally just being a brat and poor financial education.
It's crazy. I would think if one grows up in such an environment, they would handle their finances better because at some point they don't even have to learn from school. Their parents, or in your case, your grandparents, would show you. But again, even if they show you, you can always choose to rebel, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
so money was easily accessible to me, as I said, from primary school. And when I say primary school, I don't even mean like your grade 6 or 7. I mean like, what was it, sub A, sub B, standard 1 at that tender age. So I didn't know what it meant to make money, to invest, or to keep money and save money. All I knew was there's money. I remember my great grandfather had this brown briefcase where he kept all the money, from the day's work. So all the money would be there, and it was all paper. And he said to me, anytime you need money, you and I, we were the only ones who knew where the money was, by the way. So anytime I needed money, I must just go and get it. I think that was his way of showing me that, money is not a thing. You can get it when you want it, but he didn't know how to teach it to me. So I always thought so that is why then I made the decision, made the decisions I made in view of I always needed to have money as and when, and when I don't have money, I don't understand why don't I have money. Be it I needed to use it for something or I don't need to use it for anything, but I just always want to have money available. I don't want to be that girl that says, no, guys, let's not go to Spur. Oh, I can't go to Spur. I don't have money.
wow, okay. Interesting story, for you at a young age to be just, imagine they say there's money, you can just access it anytime. Wow, now that would make sense. I understand why you would just, like you say, you just broke because money was just not. It's something that was accessible to you, and you knew money that we spend it. Money up to both.
Yeah, that's really all I knew. Nothing else other than that. You spend money.
Wow, but yeah, it's just an interesting story, man. And yeah, I think we most of us, or for those who have not made those mistakes, will learn from that to say, you know what, we need to plan better financially. So if there's anyone who wants to do what you're doing, or wants to go into the podcasting / radio, even though we didn't speak about radio, because one of the things that you're on is you do radio, right? What would your advice be?
Put yourself out there. I don't have any better advice than that because that is what I did. That is what worked for me. Don't be afraid to ask. I think that's one of the things that we are, we are brought up thinking that when you ask for something, it means that you are less of, or the person in that position is better than you or whatnot. But don't be afraid to ask. Like to this day, I still knock on doors. I still ask for opportunities, That's how, because otherwise people won't know you. People won't know what your story is about. Because I know that if I DM you and immediately you're gonna go have a look at my page and see, oh, who is she? What does she do? Who is she associated with? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, But put yourself out there, ask. I mean, if you don't put yourself out there, how are people really going to know about you?
Simply put, like, I don't even want to add, put yourself out there because
look, people, most of the time, we are afraid that people are going to say no. And the reality is they are going to say no. And guess what? That's the worst they can say is no. No, sorry, we don't have an opportunity for you. But the minute somebody does say yes, it's another step, in the right direction for you. So you can't stop your life or you stop your growth because you're afraid that people are going to say no. There are things that you say no to. I mean, if we take it like that, see that you're not for everyone. You also don't like everything and everyone. So if it's a yes, great. If it's a no, okay. One person ticked off my list. Let me go on to the next.
Like that. I like what you say. You say even we as individuals, right? We get to say no to certain things, and we choose what we want. We choose who we become friends with. We choose who we get into a relationship with. And I think we should look at life like that. And when these people say no, that's what I'm getting. Never take it personal as well, because maybe it's not the time, you know. So yeah, in true podcast style, one must go. One must go. Radio or podcasting.
What?
This is what you guys, this is what MacG does to people. Blame your boss.
One must go. No, man, one mustn't go. And you see, no, and the reason I'm saying one mustn't go, now I'm gonna put my educational cap on. I'm saying one mustn't go because you see, radio, no matter how much podcasting we can do, we will never do away with radio. Radio is like, it's, what's the word? It's running away from me. Radio is, you know, it's one of the oldest forms of communication that still works. It's how people reach news in areas where human or other humans are not easily accessible to. It's how people communicate. It's how people, you know, but there are villages that are so far away from the city, but have one network area. And the only thing that will help them know what is going on is having a radio. You can never do away with radio, no matter how much you try. Podcasting is a new generational thing. I don't even want to say it's a trend, but it is where we are now as the world. But one cannot replace the other. If, you know, it's unique in its uses, it's unique to its audience. Also remember, podcasting is more for the privileged that have access to Wi-Fi, the privileged that have access to buying data, and data is not easily accessible for everybody. So radio for me still wins because I can still go buy a radio at the shop and put batteries that will last for an entire month, because I'll only maybe switch on the radio at the top of the hour every day to hear the news, you know, then switch it off again and then listen maybe to that one show during the day, the midday show, and then you switch it off again. But podcasting is for the privileged. Podcasting is for the new generation. Podcasting is limited in its audience, no matter how much we try to say it is a new thing, but it is very limited in its audience and how and on who they engage with. It's really for the now.
I couldn't have said it better. Now I understand why. Radio, people are underprivileged, and this is what we are doing as YouTubers. They say it's for those who have data, which is very true. There's something we like here on Under Construction, and it's gonna be interesting how you react to this, because it's one of those things I love doing to people, and you can't
no.
this part. So, if you could describe your life right now using a song, what song would it be? And please sing the chorus for us.
Sing?
I knew this is the reaction every time.
Oh, you know, there's a song that I love, Motsomane, Make a Way. Matema, Make a Way. Yo, what is the chorus of that song? I know it when it plays. Is that even the chorus or is it a verse? It's a
I
song
can
by
go for a verse, it's fine. Play the verse,
Hey,
it's fine.
no. This is wild. But it's, oh my gosh, how does the song go? But the lyrics are like, even in your darkest time, or Lord, you have been my light, the truth, the life, the way, something like that. I don't know the lyrics, but that is the song in my life for now. And let me think of another one that I really love. I think it's by Travis Green. Uh, Travis Green, Nara. It's Nara Nara ne narekele narekele mo. You know, what shall I render to Jehovah? For he has done so very much for me. Basically, that's
Ah, man, thank you for indulging us and singing a song for us, because it's tricky. Most people are like, sing? No, I can't sing. I can't sing to save my life. So one thing in a while we get people like you who are willing to sing. Thank you very much. But as we come to the end of the podcast, what do you look forward the most to, since you're only beginning in your journey of being in the entertainment industry?
sure. I really look forward to being on stage, like with a multitude of an audience. I just I dream in color, so which is also one of the things that I appreciate about radio is that it makes you visualize, what you're not seeing on screen, because screen also has its disadvantages. It leaves no room for creativity and vision because everything is just right there in front of you. So I look forward to the day where I'm emceeing the summers. I look forward to the day where I host Miss SA, where I just like, South Africa, are you ready for tonight? And everybody's like, yeah. Yeah, that's really what I look forward to. Making an impact more than anything. As I said, for me, being known makes me anxious, but it is the reality of the industry that I'm in, and therefore people do know me. But more than anything, it's about making an impact in somebody's life, saying, just because you are different doesn't mean that you're an outcast. You're not an outcast because you're different. You are actually the value that somebody else needs in order for them to shine their own light where they are, to be true to themselves, because that's the only way we'll be able to curb also mental health. I mean, people are depressed, people are going through the most because they've pretended, we've put on masks literally on being other people, and now it's just the time to just be yourself so that everything then that happens will make sense.
Okay. No, thank you for coming to Under Construction SA. It's been a privilege. Enjoy the conversation that we were having with you. Yeah, we just want to say thank you. What a privilege it was to host you on our platform. And we're just looking forward to seeing you on the Miss SA stage in the summers, because I could see the minute I asked the question, the way you lit up. That's when I knew that it's yours. The way you just lit up when you answered that question, I knew that you are on the right path. And to everyone who's watching, thank you for tuning in. Every Sunday, 5 p.m., we are here. And if you don't know, maybe you don't know what we're about, we are a platform for young people on the come up. They come and showcase their talent. They come and tell us about their story. And that's why we get people who've been in the game for a long time, who are coming here, just like Usesi, to come and tell us about the journey and say, do this, do that, avoid this, just like you heard her story of finances. So tune in every Sunday. We are here. Subscribe, click on the notification bell, and every time we drop an episode, you'll be notified. My name is Thuso Motsomane. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for having me.